today has primarily been about Father's Day. That has primarily been what today's reacts have been about. However, I would be very remiss if we didn't do one video to basically celebrate the Army's 250th birthday that took place yesterday. So chat, we are going to finish off our videos tonight with Nick's new video, Alvin York, the one-man army who captured 132 Germans. We are going to finish this off with a Nick video as sort of a way to celebrate the Army's 250th by hearing the tale of one of its greatest heroes. So, let's finish this off right, chat, and let's fucking go.
When most people think of a war hero, they probably instinctively just jump to John Rambo, the fictional hero from the Vietnam War. Well, John Rambo is actually based off of a real war hero, Roy Benavidez. Roy Benavidez joined the army because he wanted to be like Audie Murphy, the most decorated war hero of World War II, and Audie Murphy joined the military because he wanted to be like this man. Today we're talking about Alvin.
Okay. Oh, fuck. Okay. So, Audie Murphy was inspired by Alvin York. Okay. If Audie fucking Murphy was inspired by this man, how much of an absolute fucking badass was Alvin York if he inspired Audie fucking Murphy? Oh, this is going to be fucking good. Let's fucking go.
In the military because he wanted to be like this man. Today we're talking about Alvin York, a 6 foot, 215 pound red-headed hillbilly blacksmith from the mountains of Tennessee that was drafted into World War I despite his desire to be a conscientious objector due to his devout Christian beliefs. By the time his paperwork had cleared recognizing him as a conscientious objector, he decided to go into combat anyways because he had become convinced that he was on a mission from God to protect the innocent, and he would go on to become one of America's greatest war heroes in World War I.
Okay. Already starting off fucking hot. You know you have a badass when he's on a mission from God. In World War I, if this man said okay. Do you know shit's about to get real when he initially files in to be a conscientious objector and then just says, fuck it, God told me to go kick some ass, let's fucking go. Well, yeah, Tom McPherson, Desmond Doss remnant, except he actually did the violence, whereas Desmond Doss did not even carry a weapon.
We're going to get into it right after a word from our sponsor.
And time.
Oh my God.
I told you it was big.
I mean, I know you said you were packing heat, but Jesus.
And you thought it was going to be smaller than your forearm.
No.
Zach? Oh my God, she's wearing the outfit. She's wearing the outfit.
It's rigid, it's hard. I don't see how anybody can ever be disappointed with something like this.
I know, it's a miracle people survive.
Oh, Hannah.
This is exactly what it looks like.
Hi, Hannah.
All right, here's the deal, Super.
Wait. Fucking wait.
This is
It has a fucking bomb? What the? It's a smoker. Oh, it's a smoker in the shape of a bomb. Oh my fucking. Okay, I got you baited. I got you baited. I did. You guys are saying it's a smoker shaped like a bomb. Oh my, I got baited there for a second. I will fully admit. But goddamn, if that's not the greatest if that's not the greatest fucking smoker. And yeah, a 1-to-1 replica of the little boy. Uh-huh.
That's exactly what it looks like.
Hi, Gavin.
All right, here's the deal. Super simple, straightforward business model. You give them money, they turn around and make
This
sure
is
the
true,
data brokers
Jameson.
on the internet aren't selling your personal information. What does that even mean? Okay, here's the entire internet and every free service on the planet inside of a nutshell, okay? There's a saying, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. What that means is pretty much anything on the internet that you use, that's a service, whether that be Google, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all of it, okay? It's all an app, so one of two things is happening. They're either gonna feed you ads, and that's how that company makes money since their service is free, or they're gonna collect your personal information, then turn around and sell it to data brokers on the internet, and then they're going to turn around and sell it to whoever buys it, and next thing you know, you're getting 17,000 robocalls every single day. And that's where Delete Me comes in. They will look through all the major data brokers and find the ones that are selling your personal information and submit opt-out requests on your behalf, and then they are legally obligated
You know, it's
to
funny,
comply.
we
And
haven't
then
had
they'll
a
continue to
Delete
monitor
Me
these
ad
data
run
brokers, and if they
for
get
a
your
while
information
on this
again,
channel.
Delete Me will submit an opt-out request
Interesting.
again. Basically, you're paying Delete Me to get rid of all the downsides of all of the free stuff on the internet, which I think is absolutely worth it. If you want to check them out, I'll have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video.
Here we go.
All right, our story begins on December 13th, 1887, when Alvin York is born. He is born, he has a mother, a father, 2 older brothers, and would later go on to have 8 younger siblings, and they all grew up in a 2-bedroom log cabin in Pall Mall, Tennessee, right next to the Kentucky border. The York family has been in this exact spot for generations. Alvin's great-great-grandfather originally settled here, and when he first lived there, he was living inside of a cave. They then later built this log cabin, and that cave was converted into a blacksmith shop. The same exact blacksmith shop that Alvin works in as an apprentice his entire childhood underneath his dad when they're not busy farming their 75 acres and going hunting for food. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to explain to you that these are straight up mountain folk and have been for hundreds of years, okay? They're devout Christians living out in the rural area by themselves. They just want to be left alone to their own affairs and be self-sufficient, and his family is very, very good at it. Now, Alvin
Did any of them ever go, boy, you sure do got a purry now? Oh, yes, Annex, yes, I did. I mean, they were living the lifestyle. They were living the lifestyle. Let's not fuck with it. But it sounds like they were a good, they were a good, hardworking, God-fearing family.
Alvin was the 3rd oldest, the 3rd son of 11 siblings, and I don't want to say he was the favorite child, but him and his dad did have a very special relationship because he wanted to be just like his dad. He was attached to his dad at the hip from the time that he could walk. He was getting up every morning, going hunting with his dad, then he was coming back and he was working in the field with his dad. Then they were coming back, eating dinner, and he was going out and making horseshoes and working in the blacksmith shop with his dad, and he did that for his entire childhood. One of the things that Alvin excelled at the most was hunting. He was just a natural marksman. He was extremely accurate. By the time he was 10 years old, he was so accurate with his rifle that when he went turkey hunting, rather than shooting the body and ruin a bunch of the meat, he would opt to just blow the turkey's head off completely, saving all of the meat. Bear in mind, this is what they still
By choice. Okay, this was a man who said, not like I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to try and not spoil the meat. It's like, I don't want to spoil the meat. So I'm literally going to deliberately aim and hit the head every single time. This is a fucking Bill Engvall joke. Okay? If any of you guys have ever heard Bill Engvall's stand-up comedy before, he talked about when he would go out hunting with his father, and they would go out and they didn't get anything, and on the drive back in the truck, they would see some wild turkeys out in the field, and he said his dad pulled a move like out of Cops, where he'd stop the car, take his rifle from the rack, aim, fire, and then they would get out of the car, walk up to where the turkey was laying down. His dad would take out his pistol and shoot the turkey in the head. When they got the bird home and started and cleaned it, that bird only had one hole. And when Bill looked his dad to ask him about this, the dad said, well, son, I didn't want to spoil the meat, so I shot the bird in the same hole that I put into it with the rifle. This was fucking Alan York right here. Just like one shot, boom. And he was deliberately aiming for the head, not to spoil the meat, and he was hit in the head. Every time. Something tells me he's gonna do very good in armed combat.
Civil War era black powder musket, not a shotgun, so that's extremely impressive. By the time he was a teenager, the nearest town, Pall Mall, Tennessee.
Wait, what'd he say?
Gun, so that's bear in mind, this is with a Civil War era black powder musket, not a shotgun, so that's extremely impressive.
Holy fuck! He did this with a black powder musket and was that fucking accurate? Bear in mind, Civil War muskets, to the best of my knowledge, were not rifled. And, like, iron sights is being charitable, Andrea. I'd say most Civil War era muskets did not possess sights. So unrifled, if Civil War was rifled, I thought a musket in and of itself was not rifled. I thought. Although, yeah, if he was using the Kentucky rifle, then yeah, that's true. It's the question of was it a musket or was it a Kentucky rifle? Because the Kentucky rifle, I believe, was indeed rifled. So if that's the case, okay, still fucking impressive. Still fucking impressive. But goddamn.
By the time he was a teenager, the nearest town, Pall Mall, Tennessee, would have shooting competitions every weekend, and sometimes these shooting competitions would have prizes. There'd be 4 separate events. If you won one of the events, the prize wasn't cash, it was a cow, so you would actually win a quarter of that cow. Young teenage Alvin York would walk miles into town, partake in this shooting competition with his muzzleloader, win all 4 events, and then opt to just take the whole cow and walk it home so he didn't have to carry all the slaughtered meat himself, and he would then slaughter the cow once he got home.
Holy shit!
Not only was Alvin extremely accurate with a firearm, but by the time he was 18, 19, 20 years old, he was a pretty big dude by that point in time. Like, he was the biggest guy in his family and the biggest guy in town. He was a 6-foot redhead coming in at 215 pounds that had been doing nothing but running around in the woods hunting for food and blacksmithing his entire life. He was built like a brick shithouse. He was so big and so jacked compared to everybody else living up in the Appalachian Mountains that they would just refer to him as Biggin. You know, as in like, hey, go talk to Alvin about that. Oh, okay, sure. Which one's Alvin? Fucking the Biggin. And this has been his entire life at this point, his childhood, his teenage years, his early 20s, just hunting out in the woods, blacksmithing, farming, getting food to survive, minding his own business, and going to church on Sundays. That's what he does. That's all he ever wants to do. It's just a perfect, peaceful, happy life. As time goes on, his 2 older brothers wind up finding wives. They move out. They start their own families. Now Alvin is the oldest sibling in the house. And then in 1911, his father passes away, and Alvin becomes the man of the house. And Alvin obviously does not take this that well. His dad was his best friend. He was attached to the man at his hip his entire life. Not only is he gone and he lost his friend, but he has to immediately step in and fill the giant shoes that he left behind to provide for his mother and his 8 younger siblings. During this time, Alvin quits going to church. He picks up a drinking problem, a smoking problem, a gambling problem. He's doing everything he can to make money and provide for his family, but any free time he has, he's spending at the bar getting belligerently drunk. Over the course
Oh, okay. Is he gonna be okay? I'm gonna guess that he's gonna do something that's gonna basically knock some sense into him, and I do think he's gonna be born again because leave us not forget. Yeah, I'm absolutely gonna let him cook. Something's gonna happen that he's gonna basically be. It's a wake up call, and he's going to be born again. Because don't forget, when he went into the army, Nick already said he went in as a conscientious objector because of his Christian faith. And so I think something is going to happen here that is going to cause that.
course of the next couple of years, Alvin gets a reputation for being a troublemaker. He's always getting in fights, both fists, knives, Thankfully, he's able to avoid gunfights because anytime somebody wants to pull a gun because he's a big dude, he pulls out his gun and shoots something as a demonstration of how accurate he is. One account said a man pulled a gun on him, he pulled out his gun and then shot the head off a lizard behind him. At which point, that guy was like, you know what, never mind, I'm good. Puts the gun back away, which is probably the correct answer. Now, this raises the question, how does he always get in all these fights, but he never actually gets in trouble? Well, one, this is the early 1900s in rural Tennessee and Appalachia, so there isn't much law enforcement. But to make things worse, his preferred bar is known as the Blind Tiger, which is literally on the border between Kentucky and Tennessee. And inside the bar, there's a white line painted across the floor labeling each state, Kentucky and Tennessee. So even when the sheriffs did show up, all anybody in the bar would do is if the Tennessee sheriffs showed up, they would walk over to the Kentucky side and be like, you don't have any jurisdiction here, and vice versa.
You're just out of our jurisdiction.
And so if I'm across the line and you're over there, there's no way that you...
Oh my God.
Now, to us modern day people, obviously this sounds a little bit ridiculous that they would just walk across a painted line on the ground like it was, you know, a salt line that demons can't cross and the law enforcement can't get you. But back then, it's really how it went, because if 1, 2, even 3 deputies showed up to a bar fight and there's 40 people in the bar and they all walk to the other side and they're like, you have no jurisdiction here, and the other 40 dudes all have guns, guess what? You don't really have any jurisdiction here. The only jurisdiction you have is to lose a 40-on-3 gunfight. Okay, this is 1912, rural Tennessee. There's no calling for backup for the sheriff's department. There's no local police department. There's no highway patrol. There's no National Guard, no FBI, no feds. Nobody's coming to back you up. If you get into some shit with the wrong people, you're just gonna be another motherfucker that went missing in the mountains of Appalachia. The end. So Alvin York is just kind of an unstoppable terror on the town when he's drunk. He gets mean. He's huge. You can't beat him in a fist fight. You can't beat him in a gunfight. There's not really anything you can do to the guy. He winds up getting accused of selling stolen guns, never gets in trouble for it. He'd walk out of the bar at sunrise, absolutely hammered. A rooster would crow. He'd pull out his gun and shoot somebody's rooster just because he was hungover and didn't want to hear it. He'd be drunk in the middle of the town yelling while church is in session, trying to disrupt everything. Just, there was nothing anybody could do about the guy, and this went on for years. And the entire time, he's just breaking his mom's heart, because this is not the sweet young kid that she raised. This isn't the man his father was. This isn't the man he was supposed to be. He was supposed to be his dad version 2.0, bigger and stronger and hopefully even better. And he's just not turning out that way. Then on New Year's Eve, 1914, Alvin goes out drinking, comes back home, 3 in the morning, pissed drunk, and his mom stays up all night waiting for him. And she finally confronts him and just says, Alvin, when are you gonna start being the man that your father and your grandfathers were? And the words hit Alvin like an absolute truck. He knows what he's been doing is wrong, and he just breaks down. He's literally on his knees, sobbing with his head in his mom's lap, crying and apologizing. He promised.
Can you, oh my God. Can you imagine how that must have hit? Like, he's just been going on a tear because, honestly, he's doing this because he's angry. Like, let's be real. Alvin was doing this. All of the drinking and tearing ass through town and acting destructive and all this. This was basically his way of grieving for his father. It was not a good, productive way to do it, but this was him grieving. And he couldn't get past it. And his mom saying that, I think it finally hit him. Like, this coming from his this coming from his mom, it's just, it finally, it was in that, I think it just took that long. And it took that moment to finally just get through and get that part of his mind that was probably being shouted down by all of the anger, all of the pain that was just so loud in his mind. And that one part of his mind that's probably saying, you've got to be better. Your father and your grandfather knew you could be better than this. And you're disappointing your father. And I think finally, it was at this point where his brain finally was able to tamp down on all that anger, quiet those demons, and make sense. And And it probably just hit him like a ton of bricks. Like if his father was still alive, because he'd idolized that man. If his father was still alive, he probably realized that his father would be so incredibly disappointed in him. And I think that is more that the idea that his father was disappointed in him is probably more devastating than anything anyone else can say. Threatening him with legal action, threatening to kill him in a gunfight. Like, why the fuck should he be scared? But disappointing his father is, without question, I think the most devastating thing I think anybody could have said to him. And that's what it took. That's what it took to cut through. That's what it took to finally cut through the anger and the pain. And maybe to get him going back on the right path once again.
Says his mom, he's going to turn it around. He's going to start going to church again. He's going to give up gambling, smoking, drinking, fighting, everything. He's going to be the man his father was and the man that he was supposed to be. And his mom just says, I know you will.
Exactly, J10. Exactly.
And that's it. January 1st, 1915, Alvin York is a completely new man. He gives up all of it. He starts going to church again, and he just starts doing all the things that he should have been doing all along. I'm paraphrasing here, but he would later go on to write that essentially he had fought an awful lot of men at this point in his life, and the fight that he had with himself to give up drinking and smoking was absolutely the hardest fight he ever had. But he does it.
Yeah.
Within a couple of years, he's an elder in his church. He's literally teaching Sunday school to kids, and he's overall just an upstanding member in his community. His reputation isn't fully repaired yet, but it's definitely getting better. Around this point in time, he falls in love with the girl down the road, Gracie. He meets up with her in private all the time. They never do anything wrong. They never kiss. They don't even hold hands. But they just talk, and Alvin York wants to marry this woman. Problem is her father does not approve because he's only been an upstanding member of the community for a couple of years now, and he was an absolute terror for like 5 years before that, and he's not convinced that Alvin York is a good man yet. And York just kind of accepts that. He knows that he did wrong and he's got to prove that he's a good man now, so he just gives the father more time and just keeps being an upstanding member in the community. He keeps seeing Gracie, but they never kiss, they never hold hands, they never do anything that would be considered wrong for, Christians in the early 1900s.
So in other words, they talked about the weather a lot. Because, but I don't know how many of you guys are aware of this, but like the whole concept of talking about the weather, like the whole line of interesting weather we've been having lately, that's actually like a Victorian thing. Where when a man and a woman were together, because it was very unseemly for to have displays of affection, such as the aforementioned kissing or even holding hands, scandalous, as a means of not bringing up a topic that would not, shall we say, inflame the passions. They would bring up the weather. And that's kind of where that whole thing about interesting weather we're having, the whole bringing up the weather. Oh, it's been, warm weather we've been having, or interesting weather we've been having. That's kind of where that all came about. Now, I'm not saying that this was what Alvin was doing. I'm making a joke, but I'm doing the incredibly stupid thing of actually explaining the joke, which means it's not funny anymore. But goddamn it, I deep dive on shit. I'm sorry. I deep dive.
And that's his plan. He's going to prove to Gracie's father that he's a good man over time, and then he's going to marry that girl, make her his wife, and he's going to go on to live happily ever after. But then in September of 1917, he gets a red card in the mail from Washington, D.C. Alvin York has just been notified that he is to go sign up for the draft to go fight in World War I. Now, he's a devout Christian at this point. He truly, truly believes in his heart, thou shalt not kill. He does not think that he is supposed to fight, kill, do any of that business, and he does not want to go off to war and do it. So on the draft card they sent him, where he's supposed to fill out all of his information, they ask on there, are you a conscientious objector? He checks yes. Explain your reasoning.
Wait, I was looking for that. Where is it? Are you an export citizen? Are you father, mother, reared single? Do you claim exemption? Okay, so this must be the conscientious objector portion right here. Do you claim exemption from draft? Yes, don't want to fight. Because I don't think there's anything else on here referencing conscientious objector. Yeah, so that must be it right there where they said, we're just talking about like, yeah, are you a conscientious objector?
They ask on there, are you a conscientious objector? He checks yes, explain your reasoning. He simply writes, I don't want to fight, and mails it back off.
I'm not leaving. I'm not fucking leaving!
Obviously, that gets rejected. Alvin York, kind of not knowing what to do, goes to the pastor for help. The pastor helps him file an appeal to send it off to Nashville, and with that appeal, he has two sworn statements, one from Alvin, one from the pastor, saying, hey, this is his religion. He's not supposed to be killing people. He should be recognized as a conscientious objector. They mail that off to Nashville, and it still gets rejected again. And the reason behind that is because Alvin York's sect of Christianity was Pentecostal, which is a fairly new sect of Christianity at this point in time. I believe it started in the early 1900s as kind of a veer off from Methodist. So the draft committee in Nashville is essentially like, look, this is a new church. It's not nationwide. It's not well recognized. All the other mainstream Christian denominations, Catholic, Orthodox, Baptist, Methodist, Lutheran, they're all getting drafted and going off to war. You guys can too. At this point in time, unless you were like actually a pastor or priest in one of these Christian denominations, conscientious objector status was more reserved for like Quakers, Amish, and Mennonites. So that's it. Alvin York's getting drafted. By November, he's got orders to report for duty, and by February, he is attached to G Company of the 320.
Fucking hell, I'm sorry. What the fuck did that sergeant or officer just fucking do? He literally checked the firearm by looking down the goddamn barrel. Like, I understand. This was early 1900s. I realize this. I do. But goddamn it, right in front of my OSHA manual. Come on, gamer, why?
November, he's got orders to report for duty, and by February, he is attached to G Company of the 328th Battalion of the 82nd Infantry Division, also known as the All-American Division. Now, typically at this point in time in World War I, World War II, divisions are kind of divvied up by the region that they come from, right? Like the 34th Infantry Division is a bunch of guys from the Midwest. The 77th Infantry Division is a bunch of guys from New York and New Jersey. The 442nd Infantry Regiment is a bunch of Japanese Americans from the West Coast and Hawaii. But the 82nd Infantry Division in World War I is kind of an experiment because they just threw everybody in.
No, Chris, no, this is not Desmond Dawes, the guy from Hacksaw Ridge. This is World War I, not World War II. Completely different guy.
But the 82nd Infantry Division in World War I is kind of an experiment because they just threw everybody into the same infantry division. They've got people from all 50 states, and 20% of the men weren't even born in America. So you can imagine the culture shock for Alvin, some hillbilly that's lived in rural Tennessee his entire life, probably never traveled more than 60 miles away from his home, and now he's in this place surrounded by people from all 50 states, Poles, Italians, Greeks. It's absolutely crazy. Alvin later said he'd never seen a group of men that could outdrink, outcurse, and outfight these guys, and that's why they are the All-American Division, because they are the embodiment of the concept of the American melting pot. And that's why their logo today says AA on it, for athletic alcoholics. I mean, All-American.
He's absolutely right.
So he goes into training. York starts doing everything he's told to do to the best of his ability, but in the background, he's still kind of trying to go through the paperwork, go through the chain of command, and get himself recognized as a conscientious objector, because at the end of the day, he still does not want to go off and have to take somebody's life, because he truly believes thou shalt not kill.
You know, quite a bit of killing does occur in a war.
Despite that, if push comes to shove, it's looking like he might be the best man at doing it, because he grew up his entire life no-scope headshotting turkeys with a Civil War era muzzleloader, and the Army has just given him a model 1917 Enfield high-powered rifle chambered in 30-06, and this thing is an absolute killing machine in the hands of Alvin York. He is sitting there in training, hitting bullseye after bullseye. He is the best shot in the entire division. You got to remember, pretty broad group of people. There's a lot of people in this division that grew up in a city that have never even seen a rifle, and Alvin's been handling one since he could walk. Also,
like, think about, like, they hand him this Enfield, and it's like, it's gotta be like handling a caveman a fucking phaser. Technologically speaking. He's, like Nick saying, he's no-scoping turkey heads with a muzzle loader. And then they hand him the equivalent of a space gun that is literally just a point and click and make a head go away kind of, or Springfield, sorry. Why did I say Enfield? Springfield, sorry. Yeah, and they basically just, they hand him a rifle that is essentially just click on head, head go away. Like, yeah, he's gonna be the best goddamn shot in the division.
Also, around this point, York starts keeping a diary,
it
mostly
was
just
I
his
right?
personal thoughts on how he's dealing with the potential
Okay, hang on. Let me back this up because this is gonna bother me.
shot in the entire division. You got to remember, pretty broad group of people. There's a lot of people in this division that grew up in a city that have never even seen a rifle, and Alvin's been handling one since he could walk. Also, around this point, York starts keeping a diary, mostly just
Okay, wait.
thing is an absolute killing machine, rifle, chamber, and the Army has just given him a model 1917 Enfield high-powered rifle.
Enfield, I was right. It was an Enfield. I was right. Who told me I was wrong?
The Springfield was nicknamed the weapon of silent death.
It's the speed to which rifle Alvin York actually used. Some believe he used the Springfield. So I think at this point it's not, I don't think this may be, it seems like this may not have been his duty weapon carry. This may have been his, like, basic weapon. I'm thinking this may have been the weapon that he trained with, not his issued carry. So maybe when it switches over to his issued carry, they change it up to a Springfield. So this is like, we're still in training.
In the entire division. You got to remember, pretty broad group of people. There's a lot of people in this division that grew up in a city that have never even seen a rifle, and Alvin's been handling one since he could walk. Also, around this point, York starts keeping a diary, mostly just his personal thoughts on how he's dealing with the potential, internal struggle of having to go off to war and take somebody's life when he doesn't feel like that's the right thing to do. And eventually, word gets around that York is keeping a diary, which is against the rules because you're not supposed to keep a diary because you could write down important intel, and if you get captured off in war and they capture your diary, you could end up betraying information to the enemy. So his commanding officer, Captain Danforth, kind of confronts him about it and is like, hey, are you keeping a journal? At which point York, being a devout Christian man not wanting to lie, kind of dodges the question. He says, sir, I'm not saying whether I do or whether I don't. At which point the captain says a diary is going to betray you and your comrades. At which point York replies, sir, I didn't come to fight in a war and get captured. If the Germans want to get any intel out of me, they're going to have to get it out of my dead body. And that's coming from the 6 foot, 215 pound redhead brick shithouse hillbilly that only knows how to hit bullseyes. So the captain's like, fuck it, all right. And York just keeps maintaining this diary. But
I mean, what the fuck else is he going to do? Where he says, yeah, the only way somebody's going to get any intel from me is for my cold dead corpse. And he's got the physicality to match those words. Yes. Here. Yeah. Exactly, odds enough. Like, who's gonna be the dumb son of a bitch to tell him no? Alright, that's basically what it boils down to. Yeah, who's gonna be the sacrificial lamb to try and force him to give it up? Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if he. I'm gonna say not in a tone that was purely humble. I'm thinking it was said in a tone that was not aggressive, but just straightforward. Not quite deadpan, but it's like just straightforward, no nonsense. Not aggressive, but just like these are the facts, and they're not going to change. That's how I suspect he said it. And Phantom Giver, thank you for the 5 gifted.
because York was honest with Captain Danforth, he kind of comes to him and is like, hey, I want to talk to you about this. I think I should be a conscientious objector. I do not want to go after combat and have to kill somebody. I truly believe thou shalt not kill. Captain Danforth doesn't have that, authority to grant him that, so he kicks it up the chain of command, and he ends up talking to his boss, Colonel Buxton. Colonel Buxton, a devout Christian man, but unlike York, he also believes that Christians have an obligation to go off and fight for their country when it's needed. So he calls York into his office. York shows up. York explains everything, know, a devout Christian, elder in my church, thou shalt not kill. At which point, Colonel Buxton is like, so do you believe everything that's in the Bible? To which York is like, absolutely, yes, sir. At which point, Buxton hits him with a verse from the Bible. Luke 22, he who hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. York immediately fires back with another.
Wait. He said to them, but now if you have a purse, take it, and also a bag. And if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. See, and this is, okay, side tangent. I know you guys, me and the side tangents. This is why anytime someone tries to quote a Bible verse at you to justify anything that they do, you can literally find any quote in the Bible that supposedly is like justifying someone's actions, like, I do this because it's in the Bible. I'm a devout Christian and I'm doing this because it's in the Bible. You can probably find at minimum 6 to 10 verses in the Bible that will directly counteract that thing that was just said. The Bible is a book full of contradictions. And this is not me shitting on the Bible or shitting on Christianity. Okay, bear that in mind. I'm not like trying to shit on the Christian faith or the Bible or nothing like that. The fact of the matter is, though, that a lot of the things that people will bring up in terms of Bible verses as a justification for their actions, you can find half a dozen or more complete contradictions to what was said in the Bible, which is to be taken as the word of God. So yeah, using the Bible as your reference for why you're going to be a conscientious objector because thou shalt not kill doesn't work. Considering how much of the Bible is involved in calling Christians to bloody war, which is in the fucking Bible. So it never works in the it would never work in the first place. It doesn't work for a lot of things. And that's why anytime someone goes to quote a Bible verse at you, it's like, if you're basing your motivations on a verse you picked up out of the Bible, think for yourself for once. If he said I'm a conscientious objector, not simply because of my Christian faith, but because I don't want to kill anyone. I believe in, I believe in everyone on the planet's right to live, and I don't want to kill anybody because I don't want to end someone's life. I want people to live, in peace. And instead of just like using religion as a crutch to explain it and just said, I don't want to kill anyone. I believe in life. I don't believe in death. That's just how I feel as a person. That might actually work more. That might actually work better than utilizing religion, which you can find numerous things to counteract everything you just said. That's all I'm saying. And Yannicka, are you safe? I know you just said you're in a bomb shelter. Are you sure you're safe? I know things are so fucking tough for you right now. And I know you don't have the greatest of Wi-Fi, but please be safe. Please be safe. I know things are really scary for you right now. Okay. If you need to, Yannicka, if you need to go, don't even say goodbye. Just fucking go. Remember, your life is 1,000,000 times more important than my stupid little stream. If you need to go because things go incredibly sideways, don't even worry about saying bye. Just fucking go, please, and take care of yourself. It is far more important to me that you take care of yourself than saying goodbye onto a stream. Okay? I care more about your life than my stream. Let me put it that way. Okay? So, I'm glad you're good. I'm glad you're okay now. I'm glad you're safe in the shelter. Just know that, okay? Just know that I want you to stay safe and take care of yourself if things need to be taken care of, okay? Okay, let's keep going.
He who hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. York immediately fires back with another piece of scripture that supports his position. Then Colonel Buxton fires back with another piece of
Here we
scripture
go.
that supports his.
Exactly.
And they go back and forth having this scripture
Exactly.
rap battle for over an hour.
Book of Isaiah, chapter 6.
It's like two wizards having a battle with Bible verses for over an hour. It's absolutely crazy. And then Colonel Buxton ends up winning when he hits York with Ezekiel 33. If the watchman sees the sword coming and blows no trumpet, the blood of the people is on his hands. And this shatters York's entire worldview. York has this epiphany. Maybe he's been sent there by God because he's the watchman. Maybe he's supposed to be there to protect the innocent.
And here
So
we
now,
go.
he doesn't know what to do. But unbeknownst to him, while this has been going on, his pastor and Gracie and his mom back home have been writing every politician trying to get him recognized as a conscientious objector.
Oh, wow.
They even wrote the office of the president, and they got it pushed through. York receives the paperwork. All he has to do is sign his name on the dotted line, and he will be recognized as a conscientious objector. But now, he doesn't know if that's what he's supposed to do. Maybe he's supposed to go off and fight in this war. So Captain Danforth gives him 10 days to go back home and figure it out. He goes home, he sees Gracie, she supports whatever he's gonna do, and then he just goes out in the woods.
Thank you, Rowland, for the follow. Thank you. Yeah, like the timing on this. Holy shit. Like his whole family back home is pushing for him, and right when they get it through, all of a sudden he's like, I just realized I'm on a mission from God. Like, fuck. The timing. Oh, God. And now he's getting pulled in two different directions at once. This is part of the problem he had last time. Is like the two sides of his brain were fighting.
Woods on his favorite rock with his Bible, and he sits there for 36 hours reading the Bible and praying. Doesn't eat, doesn't drink, fasts the entire time. We don't really know what happened up there, but we do know when he comes back down, he decides that he's gonna go off to war.
Hang on.
Okay, pause, just so we're all on the same page. Whether you're religious and believe in this type of stuff, or you're an atheist, or you're religious but you believe York might be a little bit crazy, none of that matters. The only thing that matters with this now is that the 6-foot-tall, redhead, brick shithouse expert marksman now believes that he is on a mission from God to defend the innocent, and that should terrify absolutely everybody. Okay, and if you don't understand the significance of this, I've been doing combat sports my entire life. Taekwondo, karate, boxing, kickboxing. I'm a jiu-jitsu coach. I've got certifications in MACP from my time in the Army. If you name a combat sport, I've probably done it to some extent, and I've done it against a broad demographic of people. And I'm telling you right now, the toughest people on the planet are these rural farm kids that grew up in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. You borderline have to kill them just to get them to slow down, and that's when they're doing it for fun, okay? I've never had to compete against one of these dudes when they thought they were on a mission from God to defeat me, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't want to. It sounds like an absolutely horrible time. So York finishes up his 10 days of leave, heads back over to G Company, reports to Captain Danforth. Captain Danforth asks him if he wants to fight Germans. York replies, if a man can make peace through fighting, he's a peacemaker. And with that, they ship off to war. May 1st, they board the ship to head across the Atlantic Ocean, and York has never seen the ocean before. It's the most beautiful, incredible thing he's ever seen in his entire life. He's just completely awestruck at its beauty. And then 5 minutes later, he's violently puking and he gets seasick the entire voyage. So the 82nd makes it into theater in June 1918, and they spend the first couple of months they're there kind of getting rotated into reserve positions. You know, they're occupying trenches that aren't seeing a lot of combat, or they're going out on patrols. They do see some combat. They get hit with artillery. There's sniper fire, but it's not the front line. Like, it's not where all the action is happening. Despite that, during this time, York really lays down a pretty impressive demonstration of his faith, because this dude, again, believes that he's on a mission from God, and in his mind, God's not going to let him get hurt, and even if he does, it's part of God's plan, so it's okay. He does not give a fuck about anything. Like, they have enemy artillery fire coming in, everybody else is hitting the dirt, hiding in foxholes, and York is just standing there like, it'll be fine, God's going to protect me, which sounds stupid.
I was gonna say, it says it sounds stupid, it sounds a little crazy, but it's the crazy motherfuckers in combat that you gotta be the most scared about. Let's not fuck with it here. The ones that, like, the ones that are like, I'm on a mission from God, and they are 100% confident they are protected, Yeah, you need to be very afraid of them because they will not be intimidated. That's the thing with war. There is absolutely a psychological component when it comes to combat in war. Is if you can overwhelm your opponent, you can generate that fear and then they will start to break down. You get a guy that is so devout, so devoted, and believes with every ounce of his soul that he's on a mission from God and that God will protect him, you are not intimidating this man. There is not a fucking thing that you can do to elicit fear in something like that, and that is terrifying.
Foxholes, and York is just standing there like, it'll be fine, God's gonna protect me, which sounds stupid, but it's not stupid if it works, and it works the entire time. The dude never gets so much as a scratch. In his journal, he literally writes that enemy sniper fire when it's close sounds like angry bumblebees when I used to rob their nest back at home. Like everybody else is having the worst time of their life, and him almost getting his head taken off by an enemy sniper is bringing back fond childhood memories.
I'm in danger.
Okay, he also
That was fucking perfect. And that was an absolutely fucking perfect. That is the appropriate use of the meme. I cannot think of a better use of the meme in all of the internet right now. Bravo fucking phone, Nick. My hat's off to you.
also wrote in his journal, quote, "There's no use in worrying about shells if you can't alter things. Just ask God to help you and accept it. Men who worry destroy their peace of mind without doing any good." Okay, he's like the Terminator version of the slightly awkward homeschooled kid that you met at your first job in high school. Okay, don't give me that look. You know exactly what I'm talking about. From here, they start seeing more heavy combat. They have to go in and push the Germans out of this stronghold called St. Mihiel. They go in, they push the Germans out. The Germans end up retreating. They take over the town. Hooray. After they take over the town, right outside the town, there's all these vineyards full of fresh grapes. Grapes are essentially candy, and these guys have been eating army rations for months. That sounds delicious. So all the soldiers are going out into these vineyards. They're eating grapes. The Germans send up weather balloons. They end up spotting a bunch of soldiers in these vineyards, and they start dropping artillery on them. All the soldiers retreat. The chain of command's like, okay, no more going out in the vineyards to eat grapes because they're going to blow your ass up. But Sergeant York knows he's not going to get blown up because God's going to protect him. So he sneaks off on his own against orders to go eat some grapes. Sergeant York is out there. It's peaceful. He's eating grapes. He's having a moment to himself in the silence, and then he turns around, and it's Captain Danforth. And they kind of look at each other like, oh shit, we're both caught. And Captain Danforth is like, you're not supposed to be here. And York is like, yes,
you're not
sir.
supposed to be
And
here.
Captain Danforth is like, these grapes are delicious. And York is like, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
From here, York and the 82nd are going from St. Mihiel.
It was literally the fucking Spider-Man meme. Huh. You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be here. These grapes are delicious. Fuck, yes, they are. I never saw you. You never saw me. I'm blind. Exactly. The grapes were the brain cell rent. Let me put it that way.
To another town called Chantal-Cherie. It has been held by the Germans for over 4 years. The entire duration of World War I, the Germans have been here. Whether York and the rest of the 82nd realize it at this point in time or not, they are about to participate in the Meuse-Argonne offensive. It is quite literally the largest military offensive in U.S. military history. Not largest at this point in time, no, just the largest ever, period. Okay, to put this into perspective, when people think of like huge military offensives, everybody automatically thinks of, you know, D-Day, Saving Private Ryan, other TV shows and movies about World War II. It's this massive battle scene, right? D-Day had 156,000 men hitting the beach. The Meuse-Argonne offensive is 2 million men attacking the German front. It is a military operation that is quite literally so large, it is hard to conceptualize, okay? There's 50 states in the United States. 11 of them have less than 2 million people, okay? There's 11 states in the United States that have less people living in them in totality between old people, young people, kids, than the amount of soldiers that are about to rush the German line. So this is only one very, very small chunk of an enormous battle, but York and the 82nd show up to Chantal-Cherie. Germans don't even put up a fight for it. They literally just leave the town and head off into the wood line outside the town. Now, right outside the town, there's a big hill called Hill 223. Then there's a big valley, and then on the other side of that valley...
Wait. Hill 223. Why does that sound so fucking familiar? Oh, fuck. That sounds... Hill 223, that sounds really familiar. I don't know. I don't know if I've heard the Sabaton song. I don't think I watched that on stream. I don't think they did like a thing with Yarn Hub to... I don't think they did a Yarn Hub thing, so I don't think I've actually heard this song. It was from one of Nick's videos about World War II. Was it? Was Hill 223 in World War II as well? Okay. Maybe that's why. Maybe there was another Hill 223 in one of his World War II videos. That's entirely possible. Because God knows Hill 223 is not, not unique to World War I. I'm sure there are in multiple conflicts. There have been multiple Hill 223s. It's just for some reason that sparked a memory, and I can't, for the life of me, I can't fucking place it. The one tunnel under and blew up. Maybe Heckle? I don't know. But I'll keep going.
Valley, there's 3 more hills in a triangular formation. So the 82nd goes in, they push the Germans off Hill 223, they take that hill. Now, they're looking forward, it's the valley, 3 triangular hills directly in front of them, and they're gonna have to cross that valley while the Germans are on top of those other 3 hills. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you the 82nd is now gonna have to run through a valley, aka no cover, no concealment, while the Germans have the high ground
this is not
in a
good.
triangular formation on top of hills with embedded machine gun positions. This is an absolute meat grinder of a situation. Okay, when I say the Germans are dug in, I don't mean they dug a little hole and slapped their machine gun over the side of it. No, they've been there for 4 years, okay? They have chopped down trees, built up actual lumber walls to hide behind with roofs and camouflage the entire things. They can't even see where the German machine gun fire is going to be coming from, let alone effectively return fire. If they're going to have any chance of success at this, they're going to have to coordinate with artillery. They're going to have to drop artillery at the exact moment that they send a wave of men across the valley, and hopefully they're going to be able to overtake these hills and take out the Germans. So that's the plan. Orders come down at 6:10 a.m. on October 8th, 1918. American artillery is going to bombard the German position, hopefully get them to duck their heads and take cover for a minute, while America sends out 2 waves, 60 men that try to run across this valley and overthrow their position. So they wait, and while they're waiting, the orders actually end up changing because the unit that's supposed to be on the 82nd's flank is hung up taking German fire, and they're not in the position they need to be in to be able to support the 82nd. Unfortunately, the runner with these new orders that was sent to Hill 223 winds up getting killed, and the message never makes it to the 82nd. So as far as they know, they're still supposed to attack this objective at 6:10. 6 o'clock rolls around. No American artillery bombarding the position yet. 6:05. Still no artillery bombarding the position. At this point, people are looking around like, are we still gonna fucking launch this attack without American artillery support? What are we doing? The officer in charge is like, we were ordered to attack at 6:10. We're attacking at 6:10. Sure enough, 6:10 rolls around. The American artillery never shows up. He sends out 2 waves, 60 men. None of them make it. As this battle unfolds in the German...
just slaughtered 60 men. The officer literally just slaughtered 60 men. And I appreciate the fact that this is World War I. Coordination between units was not as refined. I'm like, no, I am not going to rage and go off on this officer for sending these 60 men, and basically causing all of them to die. I understand that, the communication back during this time Did he send two? I thought oh, did he say it was two groups? Okay, I missed the two groups part. I just heard that he sent 60. I missed that it was two groups. Oh, I fully, I appreciate that communication during this time period is nowhere near as streamlined as it was during World War II and beyond. The communication between units was very sluggish and imprecise and impractical. I fully understand and appreciate that. And that's why I'm not going to be like raging against the officer for telling him go at 6:10, because those were the last orders he received. He didn't know that there was a change, and in his mind, if he didn't go at 6:10, if he, because there was no artillery, if he held back, he's probably worried, okay, am I going to screw up this entire mission because I held back and didn't go because my last standing orders that I was given were to go at 6:10, and I have to trust in my other units to be able to do what they're going to do, because if I don't go, I could fuck this whole thing up. It'll all be on me. I could get so many people killed. And yes, Nubis, I realize that that's why I'm saying communications between the two units is just very archaic, imprecise, impractical as hell. And that's why I understand why he set them in. For the time, because of the situation at the time, he really didn't have a choice. He had to follow the orders and he had to trust in the other units to do what they needed to do, and he didn't know something had gone awry. And it's a shitty situation all the way around. Unfortunately, that's it. That's basically what it boils down to. It was a shitty situation all the way around, and unfortunately, people paid for it with their lives. Unfortunately.
He sends out 2 waves, 60 men. None of them make it. As this battle unfolds and the German machine guns open fire.
Okay, yeah. He said sent out 2 waves, 60 men. So 60 minutes. So 2 waves, 60 men in total. That's what he just said. Not 2 units of 60 men each. 2 waves, 60 men total. That died.
The chain of command can see there's like 35 machine gun nests all over these 3 hills. There's absolutely no way they're going to make it past 35 German machine guns. From here, the chain of command decides the best course of action is going to be to send out a small patrol of men. They're hopefully going to be able to skirt out around the backside of these German machine gun positions and make it to the center hill where most of their firepower is and take out all those machine gun nests. Then they should be able to assault through the valley and up onto these hills. Okay, just so we're on the same page, this is also not a great plan, okay? Yes, they're not assaulting the positions directly, but, if the Germans are straight in front of you, they're going to run off this way, still through part of this valley. Not as big of a part, not as much time to fire on them, but it's still a valley with no cover, no concealment, in broad fucking daylight. Best case scenario, they all run really fast, the Germans don't hit them, but now the Germans know that they're coming. So it's not a good plan, but it's the only one we've got. So they pick 17 men. They've got a...
This has got to been before they started doing night ops. Because night fighting kind of started with World War II. You didn't really see that happen until that war. In World War I, I'm guessing there was not a whole hell of a lot of fighting at night. When night fell, you hunkered down and you just did not do a fucking thing until the daytime.
Sergeant, 3 corporals, and a bunch of privates. One of those corporals is Corporal Alvin York. So they go down to the base of Hill 223, probably get a quick stretch in, hype themselves up, about to run through German machine gun fire. No big deal. They're getting ready and they're counting it down and they're all going to hop up and start running for their lives. It's like 3, 2, 1, and right as they say 1, the German machine gun positions just start getting bombarded with American artillery. It showed up late, and it showed up at the perfect time as all these guys start running across this narrow stretch of the valley. All the Germans are forced to take cover, and none of the Germans see these guys clear the valley. Okay, I don't know if it's divine intervention, plot armor, fate, call it whatever you want, but in this particular case, shit worked out perfect.
God's divine intervention? Huh? God's warrior was getting ready to go, and God said, let me give you a layup here real quick.
Perfect.
Stop it on the enemy! We love you, God! Jesus Christ!
They make it through the valley completely undetected into the wood line, and now they spend the next hour and a half sneaking through the woods up and around behind the German position. After like an hour of sneaking through the woods in pretty much a straight line, the sergeant pulls off to the side and he's like, okay, do we think we've gone far enough that we need to start turning because we're going to be behind the German machine gun positions now, or do we need to go a little bit further? He wants to consult his corporals, see what everybody thinks. First two corporals say they've gone far enough, they should turn now. Gets to Alvin York, and Alvin York, for some reason, feels like they haven't gone far enough yet. And he's like, I think we should keep going straight for a little bit further. Okay, again, I have no idea why Alvin York thought that. I don't know if he, has a feeling from God. I don't know if he can hear the narrator speaking because he's wearing the plot armor, but he decides to keep going straight. The sergeant agrees. They
actually have a different take. I'm thinking Alvin York had an idea of where the machine gun nests were. And I think he's got a very good sense of direction. Because let's not forget, he has spent his whole life in the wilderness. He has spent his whole life, living outside of, living in the woods. And it's not so much that he knew gunfire and timing. He's lived in the woods all of his life, he's a born and bred hillbilly, which means I'd say he's a pretty good natural sense of direction and distance. And so he could kind of tell, he kind of knew based on where they were, how they traversed, from where they started, the direction they traversed, the amount of distance that they'd spent tracking sideways. I feel like he just knew because of an innate sense of directions and surroundings. So this is one that you can't chalk up to, God's divine intervention or God reaching down and giving him an invisible map in his head. No, it's just he was born and raised in the environment of just having to navigate by his wits, and he just those natural instincts guided him on this one. I honestly think it is literally as simple as the hillbilly knows the fucking woods. He knows distance, he knows time. That's it. That's honestly it. And Payne Scott, thank you for the follows on both Kick and Twitch. Thank you very much.
go straight for a little bit longer.
Rent for the beautiful brain cell.
Thank you, J10.
And they come up on this like 3-foot deep trench. Now, it's not a military trench, it's just like a 3-foot deep hole. They have no idea why it's there or what it's doing. It's clearly not a military trench, but it is going to be pretty handy for them to crouch down and walk in and remain concealed and go unnoticed. In hindsight, historians would figure out later that it was actually a trench that had been there for hundreds of years that was actually used originally as a marker between two separate pieces of property, which means the Germans didn't put it there and they probably don't even know it exists. So they use this trench to get further and further. It slips them right past that first hill and straight towards the hill that's in the center, which is their objective. So as they're making their way there, they come up on this little creek, and on this creek, there's 2 German soldiers just filling up an entire cart full of canteens to bring back to all the other Germans. Those Germans see the Americans, they shit their pants and take off running. York and his guys take off chasing them because they want to capture them or kill them so that they don't alert the rest of the Germans that they're there. As they're chasing these guys down, they come up onto this meadow, and in this meadow, holy shit, it's the battalion headquarters tent for the entire German unit there. And right beside the tent, there's like 70 German infantry soldiers that are just sitting in this meadow, chilling, eating lunch. These were the reinforcements that the Germans had brought in to launch a counterattack against the 82nd Division. Now, the 2 Germans that they're chasing do not immediately cut out into the meadow because they don't want to run out into the open because then the Americans are going to shoot them. So they want to skirt this tree line and get as close to that tent as they can and then run into the tent and tell the German commander that the Americans are here. Okay, that's a good plan on their part as far as, you know, not getting shot and dying goes. But fortunately for the Americans, this gives them time to be like, fuck that, let them keep running through the wood line. They immediately advance into the meadow and attack these 70 soldiers that aren't carrying their guns. They're just sitting down, chilling, eating lunch, and immediately force all 70 of them to surrender. Now, the 70 Germans are caught completely off guard. All they see is Americans running towards them with their guns up.
Wait. 17 men just made 70 German soldiers surrender. 17 Allied troops. 70 Germans. And they got him to surrender. By the element of surprise. Fuck yes! True, lads, actually, they didn't know it was 17. They could have assumed that it was an entire, like, battalion.
Now, the 70 Germans are caught completely off guard. All they see is Americans running towards them with their guns up, yelling surrender. These guys have their guns, you know, all set to the side. Half of them are sleeping, half of them are eating. They think it's a huge American counterattack, so they surrender immediately, not knowing that it's only 17 guys. While the Germans are standing up, putting their hands in the air, the other two canteen Germans cut out of the wood line, run into the battalion command tent, and tell the German commander, Commander Vollmer, the Americans are attacking. He freaks out, grabs his pistol, turns around, goes to tell the 70 infantry troops that just showed up, get ready for a fight, and what he sees is they're already standing with their arms up in the air. They've already surrendered, and he's like, what the fuck?
I'm surrounded by idiots.
He then turns around again, probably trying to quickly send a runner or send a radio transmission to his other guys up on the hill, letting them know the Americans are here, and right in front of him is 6-foot-tall, red-haired, red mustache, ginger Alvin York standing there with his gun, and he's like, surrender. So Commander Vollmer, who actually went to college in Chicago and in Alvin York's own words, speaks better English than he does, understands exactly what Alvin York said, and agrees to surrender. York and Vollmer then leave the tent and they go out, and York's going to talk to the rest of his guys, and the Germans on top of Hill 2 with their machine guns have figured out something is going on, and they scream down at the Germans in German, presumably saying, get down. All the Germans drop and the German machine guns open fire. Before York's guys even know what's going on, they are already getting lit up by these German machine guns. In a matter of seconds, 6 Americans are killed, 3 are injured, leaving 8 men left in play with 70 prisoners and German machine gunners up on the hill opening fire on them. Of the 9 American casualties, they include the sergeant and the other 2 corporals, meaning that the only corporal, the only NCO, the only leadership position left in play is Alvin York and a bunch of privates. Alvin York is now in charge. The rest of the Americans all drop to the ground, try to return fire, but they're mostly just taking cover. Alvin York rushes the hill by himself.
So, I'm gonna kill each and every one of you, and the only disappointment in it for me is that I only get to do it once.
The privates then get themselves oriented to the situation, and the 7 remaining dudes are both returning fire, trying to provide covering fire for Alvin York, while also trying to make sure that the 70 unarmed Germans behind them don't jump them and overpower them. York continues to advance under enemy fire, reaches a little swell on the ground, and drops down into a prone position, not because he's trying to avoid bullet fire. God does that for him. He just drops down to prone so he can be more accurate. So now he's looking down the sights of his rifle, and he's just waiting for the German helmet to pop up. He's sitting there, he's yelling, surrender, give up. He's literally trying to be a nice guy about this. German helmet pops up, domes the guy immediately. And in the back of his head, all he can think is, man, these German heads are way bigger than the heads of turkeys back home when I was hunting. He's still continuing to shout surrender as German helmets keep popping up, trying to man the machine gun. And every time a German helmet pops up, he fucking drops them.
You are fucking point and click. He's literally just doing point and click kills right now. Head bang, head bang, head bang. Like, yeah, fucking aimbot. He's fucking aimbotting this shit.
Popping up, trying to man the machine gun, and every time a German helmet pops up, he fucking drops them.
You are amazing at this. How did you get so good?
Whacking moles. And this goes on for a minute. Alvin York just being the polite homeschool kid Terminator, literally like, guys, seriously, please surrender. Bang. Okay, that's enough now. You guys can quit. Bang. Okay, guys, please surrender. Bang. During this phase of the battle, Alvin York is credited with somewhere between 18 and 23 kills. Okay, now to understand and comprehend what's going to happen next, you have to understand the perspective of the Germans that are up on top of the hill. They have the high ground, they have machine guns, they have fortified fighting positions, and they are in a firefight with one man, some 6-foot-tall ginger hillbilly from Tennessee, and somehow they're losing. And every
Yeah. Anakin wishes he had been Alvin York when he fought Obi-Wan. I have the high ground. I'm on a mission from God. I don't fucking care. Bang. God damn it, that needs to be a meme. That needs to be a meme of Anakin standing there going, I have the high ground, and then Alvin York standing there going, I'm on a mission from God. I don't care. I do not. Okay, strays, make that happen. That meme has to happen. If you guys, okay, I'm going to make this promise right now. If one of you guys can make that meme and make it a good one of Obi-Wan saying, I have the high ground, and then Alvin York with his fucking Enfield going, I'm on a mission from God. I don't care. If one of you guys can make that meme, I will post it to my Twitter. If you make that meme, you put it in the art section. I don't care if it's the AI art or the actual art. I don't care. You do that meme, I will post it on my Twitter. I will make that vow right now. Artists, stray artists, or you can make it a video meme. It can be an art meme or a video meme. I do not care. If you make that meme, not only will I post it to my Twitter, but I will tag Nick. I will tag Nick in that post if you can make that fucking meme. I will tag Nick. I will tag, and I'll even maybe tag it to. I'll tag it for Angry Cops. Okay, I will do it, and I will give full credit to whomever makes it. So whoever can make that meme, I will post it. I will tag Nick. I will tag Rich, and I will give you full credit. Strays, get to work.
Every time one of them builds up the courage to pop up over the berm, man the machine gun to return fire, this giant ginger sends their brain on a field trip. And just so we're all on the same page, York is shooting an Enfield chambered in 30-06. That is a high-powered rifle cartridge that is commonly used for hunting elk and moose. This rifle and this round is significantly more powerful and way more scary than the scary AR-15s shooting 5.56 that the Army uses today. To put it into perspective, here's a watermelon getting shot by 5.56 and 30-06 at 16,000 frames.
Hang on. I'm gonna shift so you guys can see this.
Here's a watermelon getting shot by 5.56 and 30-06 at 16,000 frames per second. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that if you're a German on top of that hill and you've just seen 20 of your buddies get their eyebrows sent into fucking orbit, that's starting to look like not that great of an idea, and you're probably looking for alternatives. Bearing that in mind, the Germans decide they're going to do something that tactically doesn't make a lot of sense. They're going to leave their fortified fighting positions, they're going to abandon the high ground, they're going to grab their rifles, fix bayonets, and they're going to charge this giant red-headed hillbilly and show him what's up. So 12 Germans.
They're gonna charge the fucking Tennessee Red Bear. They're gonna charge the red-headed Sasquatch with fixed bayonets.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Germans hop out of their fortified fighting positions with rifles and fixed bayonets and bayonet charge Alvin York, which in hindsight was a complete mistake for them, and it worked out for Alvin York because Alvin was actually out of rifle rounds altogether and he wasn't going to be able to do anything else, but now he's got 12 Germans running at him, so he pops up, grabs his Colt 1911 chambered in 45 ACP. Bear in mind, he's only got 8 rounds and 12 Germans running at him. Alvin York immediately shoots one, drops him. At that point, 4 of the other Germans decide, okay, this is clearly the main character. I'm an anonymous henchman. I'm just going to call it a day. They hop back in the trench.
And look at you. You haven't even got a name tag. You've got no chance. Why don't you just fall down? Go on, son.
So now there's 7 Germans still bayonet charging him, and he has 7 bullets. He has to be absolutely perfect. Now, from the lead German's perspective, the guy that's out in front, obviously, he's the one that's going to get shot first. I mean, right? That's what makes sense. You shoot the closest threat first. That way nobody comes to get you, right? So as long as he doesn't get shot, everything's going great. He sees Alvin York fire. The bullet whizzes past him. Alvin York missed. Fires again. Another bullet whizzes past him. Again. All of the bullets, all 6 of them, go whizzing right past him. He's got 1 bullet left. He gets shot directly in the stomach and drops. But what actually happened Alvin York didn't miss. He didn't miss a single time. Alvin York knew that if he shot the dude in the front, everybody behind him was gonna see it, and they were all gonna take cover, and he wasn't gonna have any ammo. So he decided to take out the Germans the same way that you shoot a flock of geese that are flying, and he took out the geese at the rear of the formation first, working his way to the front so the formation didn't scatter. He was shooting the man in the back instead of the man in the front and dropped all 7 Germans. Now, coming back to Alvin York's perspective during this bayonet charge where he's using bird hunting tactics to kill Nazis, he has bullets whizzing past him from behind him. Somebody is shooting at him while he's shooting these Germans. It's that German commander Vollmer, because remember, nobody bothered to take his pistol away from inside the tent because shit hit the fan so fast, and he's trying to save his own guys, which is pretty understandable. So while York is shooting at Germans with his pistol, Vollmer is...
We already got the winning. But the officer, he needed the winning. The German officer needed the winning.
his own guys, which is pretty understandable. So while York is shooting at Germans with his pistol, Vollmer is shooting at York with his pistol, and York doesn't give one single fuck, because remember, he's on a mission from God, and God is going to protect him, and if he doesn't get protected...
Okay, I'm sorry, but I will say, I'm a little disappointed. I am a little disappointed that we have not either had a Blues Brothers meme or a Paul meme at this point. He has used the line, "I'm on a mission from God," several times now. And yet we have yet to see Elwood or what's her name's father, which I don't even know if we ever got his name, from Paul. Both of them saying, "I'm on a mission from God." If he's saving it, okay. If he's saving it, okay, then I will accept that.
It's all part of God's plan, so it's going to be fine. So York just focuses on what he's doing and lets everything else work itself out. And of course, doesn't get a single scratch on him the entire time. Vollmer empties the pistol, misses every single shot. York lands every one of his. At this point, York turns around, Vollmer drops the pistol, puts his hands up. He knows when he's been bested, and he looks at York and he just goes, "English?" Like clearly asking, like, you know, "Hey, I speak English, let's talk this out." York does not interpret it that way and goes, "No," to which Vollmer's like, "What?" And York goes, "I'm an American." And he's like, "No, I'm saying I speak English. Quit killing everybody. I'll get the guys up there to surrender so you don't have to kill everybody." At which point, York reloads his pistol, points it at Vollmer, is like, "Okay, go ahead." Vollmer starts yelling a bunch of stuff up the hill in German. Couple seconds later, a bunch of more Germans come out, no weapons, with their hands up, and they surrender too. Germans finish coming down the hill. They join the rest of the POWs, at which point, one of the 7 remaining privates comes up to York and is like, "York, what are we going to do with all these prisoners? We don't have enough men to handle this many guys and get them back behind our lines." Vollmer hears this and he's like, "What? I'm sorry, how many men do you guys actually have?" And York is like, "I've got plenty, don't worry about it." At this point, York, with Vollmer still at gunpoint, is going to use Vollmer to translate and get everything moving. He's like, "All right, get your guys up, tell them to get in a column of 2. We're going to march out of here, tell them to pick up your wounded, tell them to pick up my wounded and my dead. They're going to carry them back to our lines." Problem, how on earth are we going to get back? Because we definitely can't go the way we came through the woods. We're not going to be able to keep track of like 100+ German prisoners.
Well, not to mention, isn't there another gun emplacement? They're on gun emplacement number 2. If they backtrack, they've got to backtrack across gun emplacement number 1. So, unless... Yeah, this is all part of gun emplacement number 2. So there's still gun emplacement number 1 that they have to contend with, though, don't they? Am I remembering my geography on the hill correctly? Yeah, that's what I thought, Kendrick. Yeah, there's 2 more. They were at number 2. They passed, but they were able to bypass number 1, and there's still number 3 to contend with. So even if they backtracked, they would have to backtrack across emplacement number 1, and then I'm not sure there'd be a friendly fire risk. so to speak. I think they get caught by the other emplacements and they get turned on and they'll have more soldiers and they've already lost half their team. Even with Alvin York, I don't know if they'd be able to make it if they had another full machine gun emplacement turn on them.
Through that dense forest, we're gonna have to go out in the open and the rest of the Germans are gonna see us and that's not gonna work out. At which point Vollmer chimes in and he's like, well, you can take this gully right here and that'll take you right to Hill 223. He's obviously trying to set him up for an ambush because he knows where all of his soldiers are, and York is like, well, we're not fucking going there. You know what? I'm the main character. We're just gonna march right down the main road that goes straight to Chantal-Cherie, straight to Hill 223. So that's what they do. They just take off ruck marching right down the middle of this main road in the middle of enemy held territory because York is the main character and it's all part of God's plan, I guess. So they're making their way there, and sure enough, they run into an entire platoon of Germans that are guarding the road because obviously. However, from the Germans' perspective, there's like 7 Americans and 100+ Germans. There's absolutely no way that those Americans have those Germans as POWs, so they don't open fire. They end up walking up and approaching to see what's going on, figuring the Americans are the POWs. Once they get close enough to realize the Americans are the ones with the guns, York shoves his pistol into Vollmer's back and is like, make them surrender, tell them they're surrounded. Vollmer does what he's told, tells them to drop their guns, they're surrounded. They do it because Vollmer's the battalion commander, they drop their guns, and they get taken as POWs too. From there, they just keep marching to Hill 223, and as they start getting closer, the Americans see a massive formation of German uniforms approaching. They start freaking out, thinking it's a giant counterattack. They start moving men around, getting ready for a fight, and as they keep getting closer and closer, they're looking through field glasses, and they see York's big ginger ass with a gun pointed at the German, and it's like, holy shit, York captured everybody. So they get to the base of Hill 223. The 82nd commander meets him down there and is like, York, holy shit, how many men did you capture? To which York replies, honestly, I have no idea, sir. And the commander's like, all right, well, you're promoted to sergeant, by the way. Great work.
Of course.
March these guys into Chantal-Cherie and I'll count them off as they march by, I guess. Commander then proceeds to count them off as they march by. York had captured 132 Germans. So York marches his POWs off to Chantal-Cherie and the rest of the 82nd resume.
And, okay, again, she captured 132 Germans basically by himself. Let's not forget about that. He basically had 7 other guys, not like they did a whole hell of a lot. He basically did this by himself. Fucking hell.
Their attack because now the Germans have 35 less machine gun positions, and the ones that do remain don't have a chain of command to be given orders.
Nova,
so
exactly.
They overtake the objective, they secure the area fairly easily. York makes it to Chantal-Cherie where battalion headquarters are. Battalion headquarters is like, we don't have the logistics for this many prisoners. March them up to regimental headquarters. Marches them up to regimental headquarters. They can't take that many prisoners either.
My
March
God.
them to division headquarters.
Okay, oh my God. He is such a badass at capturing so many people. The army can't handle the number of POWs that he has secured. They fucking can't handle it. He has captured so many fucking people. Fucking hell.
Marches them all the way to division headquarters. When he gets there, General Lindsay, like the main guy in charge of the 82nd, approaches York and is like, York, I hear you've captured the whole damn German army. To which York replies, just with sheer Forrest Gump levels of modesty, no, sir, I only captured 132.
Yes, I know that.
From there, he gets some food, finds a cot, lays down, writes in his journal for a little bit, because, you know, he's had a pretty eventful day. In his journal, he writes, and I quote, so you can see here in this...
Okay. And sorry, did anyone else just have the Doogie fucking Howser theme suddenly go off in their head when he said, he's had a tough day, so he sits down and starts writing in his journal. And all of a sudden, in my head, I just started hearing the opening bars of the Doogie Howser theme going off. I kind of wish Nick had done something like that. Where it's like, so he sits down and writes his journal, and he's about to read the journal, and he starts, like, doing the, like, I don't know, because copyright. Like an 8-bit version of the fucking Doogie Howser thing. I kind of wish he'd done that because, oh my God, that would have been chef's fucking kiss for this.
He's had a pretty eventful day. In his journal, he writes, and I quote, "So you can see here in this case of mine where God helped me out. I'm a witness to the fact that God did help me out of that hard battle. For the bushes were shot up all around me, and I never got a scratch." Next morning, York reports back to Captain Danforth.
Okay, if any of you guys want to know what the Doogie Howser theme is, Ryan Reynolds did a video recently promoting the Deadpool VR game that's coming out, and he's basically doing like a mock or a Doogie Howser parody, and it plays the Doogie Howser theme at the beginning of it. Just look for the Deadpool VR trailer or commercial or whatever with Ryan Reynolds in it. You'll know what I'm talking about.
Next morning, York reports back to Captain Danforth, and he requests to take out a small detail to go back to the site of his battle and look for any survivors, because that's just the type of guy that York is. Captain Danforth not only agrees to let him do it, but he's like, "I'm going with you," and he brings some other high-ranking officers with him because they want to hear York explain what the fuck happened. By the time they get out there, there's no survivors. All the dead bodies have already been removed. There was never an official body count of how many Germans York killed, but pretty much everybody agrees it's somewhere between 20 and 30 that he had killed single-handedly. York then takes him to the patch of grass that was his firing position, and, you know, he was in the heat of battle. He wasn't really paying attention to what was going on. It was all part of God's plan. But looking at it in retrospect, everything around the patch of grass that he was on is absolutely shot to shit. Just hundreds of bullet holes all over it. None of them hit Alvin York. He dropped his canteen during that firefight. That canteen was still there, feet from his position, and that canteen had 18 bullet holes in it. Okay, literally the holy canteen. It's all part of God's plan. York finishes explaining everything that happened there. They head back to headquarters. This is like a big deal, right? I mean, you're gonna probably give this guy the Medal of Honor. They gotta really know what happened, and this sounds so incredibly unbelievable. Like, they need to make sure this actually happened before they...
Oh, no. Is it so unbelievable? They don't believe it. Oh, God, are we about to have one of those situations? Like, this is just too unbelievable. There's no way this could happen. Like they did with Desmond Dawes, like they did with Audie Murphy. The reality of it is just too insane. No one's going to believe it. Oh, please tell me now. Oh, I have a very bad feeling right now.
They write this up, right? So they interview York twice. Same exact story every time. He's incredibly modest about the entire thing, tries to give as much credit to the other 7 privates as he can. They interview the 7 privates. All 7 privates are like, Alvin York's a fucking superhero. They interview some of the Germans. The Germans are like, it was fucking crazy. I don't know. We couldn't hit the guy with bullets. They interview Vollmer. The story is the same across everybody. It's one of the most well-researched battles ever. From here, a couple of weeks go by. By October 28th, 1918, his unit gets pulled back out of the Argonne. They go to the rear, and then he gets placed on 10 days leave on November 1st. And while he's on leave, he sends a postcard back home to his mother. You know, he's probably got a lot to tell her. That postcard reads, and I quote, "Hello, I'm okay. Sending you a postcard view of a little of this country along the coast. It's a nice scene." Well, that's all. He's literally Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that. That's the right on, man. You said it all.
Now, like I said, he goes on 10 days leave on November 1st, 1918. Guess what happens on November 11th, right as he's ending his leave? Germany surrenders. World War I is over. Coincidence? Almost unequivocally, yes, but it's funny to joke that Alvin York was coming off vacation, so the Germans just decided to call it a day and end World War I.
We called him Baba Yaga.
From here, Alvin York was recommended...
Days. Fucking beautiful. To Germans, Alvin York is coming off a leave. Fuck this shit. We're out.
For the Distinguished Service Cross. The only reason they weren't going to give him the Medal of Honor was because, well, the story was too unbelievable and nobody was willing to agree that that actually happened. So they conducted an even more thorough investigation. Turns out it was all 100% legit. They upgraded it to the Medal of Honor. He gets awarded the Medal of Honor. From here, they get...
Okay. You know what? He was still awarded the Medal of Honor. And good. I'm not going to rage. I thought I was about to when they said he's going to get the Distinguished Service Cross. They upgraded him to the Medal of Honor, doing all the research. I am pleased with this. The Ember is pleased with these turn of events.
Sent out to some parade field. They're ordered to pick up all the cigarette butts out of this parade field because there's some fancy French general coming in to do some ceremony or something rather. So York and the rest of the guys are out in this parade field for like 2 days picking up thousands and thousands of cigarette butts. Turns out the French guy that was coming was actually the French guy, Ferdinand Foch, the supreme allied leader of World War I, and he was actually coming for Alvin York. They have a big ceremony and Ferdinand Foch awards Alvin York the French Croix de Guerre, essentially the French version of the Medal of Honor. He pins it right next to York's Medal of Honor and says, and I quote, "What you did was the greatest thing ever accomplished by any soldier in any of the armies of Europe." From here, York gets yanked away. He goes on speaking tours all over France. He does that for a number of months. He's finally ready to go home, goes back to America. The Americans find out. They want to know more about York. He does speaking tours all over America. At this point, he's still in the United States Army.
Okay, I'm going to say this was probably hell for him. For Alan York, I'm thinking this was probably hell. He probably didn't like doing these speaking tours. It just doesn't feel like that's in his character. Honestly. It doesn't feel like this would be in this man's character to go around doing speaking tours. He seems too humble for that. And so this must have just been terrible for him. Keegan, in the Discord, I have a couple of art channels in the Discord. You don't need to tag me in it. You can just post it in one of the art channels in the Discord. Mods, if you could throw up the link to the Discord in the chat, please.
Finally gets released from service, but the American public wants more. They want to know everything. He's getting $1,000 offers to go give speaking engagements, which back at this point in time, $1,000 is a ton of money. He's getting offered $10,000 for his life story in a book. He's getting offered...
Whoa! Are you fucking kidding me? $10,000 in the early 1900s for his life story. Chat, that's like... translated into modern was like fucking millions. Okay, $10,000 in like 1911? That's like, he would be basically become a multi-millionaire in today's money. Like, holy shit. We're 1918, excuse me. Why did I say 1911? Jesus. Yeah, like 1918, 1990s money. $10,000 is multi-millionaire. This is fucking Enron money. Okay? This is BP levels of fucking money.
Offered $50,000 to do a film about his exploits. He rejects all of it. He doesn't want any of it. He doesn't want the fame. He doesn't want to be recognized or glorified for having to take a human life. He only feels like he did it because it was absolutely necessary, because he is the peacemaker. So that's it. He just flat out rejects everything, goes back into the mountains of Tennessee. He just wants to go there, live his life, read his Bible, marry his sweetheart Gracie, and that's exactly what he does. Time goes by and he still has people offering him money left and right for speaking engagements, movies, books, anything and everything you can imagine. He's getting offered money to endorse products, absolutely everything. And eventually he kind of figures, you know, this is a rare opportunity. He could probably do a lot of good in the world if he raised all this money and did something productive with it. And he remembers, you know, he wasn't really able to go to school as a kid. He has about a 3rd grade education. He was only able to go to school on weekends. There just wasn't a school in that part of rural Tennessee when he was growing up, and there still isn't today. But if he could raise enough money, he could change that. He could affect the lives of all the kids around him, and that's what he decides to do. So that's what he does. He leverages his fame to raise money to open up schools for kids in rural areas so they can get an education. He goes on speaking tours, raising money. He sells the rights to his book. He sells the rights to his war diary that he kept during World War I. He sells the rights to a movie, goes on, be's the technical advisor. He ends up raising hundreds of thousands of dollars, which at this point in time is millions. He ends up founding the York Institute in Jamestown, Tennessee, which is a privately funded school, but it's open to kids for free. And this wasn't just like overnight or over a year. This took years and years and years to do. And over the course of that time, he raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he paid himself almost nothing. Like, he didn't build a new fancy house. He didn't buy a bunch of nice stuff for himself or his family. He was still living exactly how he grew up the entire
too good for this world. It really is. Oh, God. Oh, shit. Ha! Oh, God, he is too good for the world. He's, oh, my God. He just used all that money to help children. Oh, but he helped to do it. Oh, children's. To help children. God. It is wonderful. Just fucking wonderful.
Time. Out of the hundreds of thousands of dollars that he made, I believe he paid himself just over $6,000 over the course of like a decade. The man is truly selfless. He literally took just enough money to keep food on the table for his family and gave everything else to this school. But as we all know, no good deed goes unpunished. Alvin York, the man with a third-grade education, was under the impression that because he was doing selfless stuff with the money, he was literally donating it to give kids an education, he thought that that was a charitable donation and that he didn't have to pay taxes on it. Well, apparently he was wrong because he wasn't a, 401c fucking charity or whatever the fuck with the IRS. So none of that counts, and Alvin York now owes a ton of money in back taxes, and the IRS is coming after him.
It's never too early to learn that the government is a greedy piglet that suckles.
What? I'm sorry. Fucking what? This man is a Medal of Honor recipient. He has done nothing but donate to kids. Donate to charity.
I'm crazy enough to take on Batman, but the IRS, no, thank you.
All he has done is donated to charity. All he's done is help children. He has not done anything for himself. And they're gonna come after him for back taxes? Fucking really? Really? Okay, government, tell me how you're gonna fuck this up even more.
On a taxpayer's teat until they have sore, chapped nipples.
Okay, and just so we're on the same page, this is like now the early 1940s. 2 decades have gone by, and the tax rate at this point in time is absolutely insane. The top marginal income bracket for federal taxes is 81%. He made $134,000 with his hit movie that came out in 1941. The IRS said he owed them like $90,000 of that money. Alvin York didn't have it. He used all the money to build this school and start teaching kids for free. When the IRS told him that he owed all that money, he had a net worth of $21,000. $20,000 of that net worth was just the value of the farm that him and his family lived on. You know, the same farm that his family has lived on since they came across the ocean and lived there in a fucking cave. Other than that, he had a car that was worth $700. He had $2.20 in his checking account, and he got a $10 a month stipend for being a Medal of Honor recipient. That was it. He gave everything else away. Thankfully, the government steps in because York doesn't have the money to keep funding this school. So the government steps in and is like, oh, you built the whole school for us. You bought instruments for the band, books, chairs, desks, everything. Oh yeah, we'd be willing to, take that over and make it a public school, which York doesn't give a shit. He literally just wants kids to get an education. So of course he signs it over to the government so they can keep maintaining the York Institute. And it is literally still in operation to this day. It is a public high school in Jamestown, Tennessee. In addition,
I'm relieved about that. I thought for sure because the government took it over to make it a public high school that things were going to get fucked up. It's still a public high school in Yorktown. Yeah, Resin, I thought the exact same thing. I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased.
In addition to that, thanks to a literal act of Congress, they forgive his debt, and he is now debt-free. Now, going back to his movie, came out in 1941, right as America is getting ready to enter World War II. It is a nationwide sensation. He becomes the most popular man in the country all over again. Because of the popularity of this movie, and because of the fact that Alvin York served in the 82nd Infantry Division, the All-American Division, when World War II kicks off and they start reactivating old units, one of the first units to get reactivated is the 82nd Infantry, which becomes the 82nd Airborne, which is still active to this day, and it is one of the most prestigious military units in the United States Army. In addition to that, it inspires tens of thousands of American men to join the military because they want to be a hero too, just like Alvin York, and one of those Americans is Audie Murphy, who would go on to become the most decorated war hero of World War II. Alvin York would go on to pass away at the age of 76, but his legacy lives on both in the school that he helped found and the 82nd Airborne Division. And that time the Army tried to name a god-awful tank after him. Seriously, can we name something else awesome after this guy? Like the next sniper rifle, call it the York Peacemaker. That's a dope name. He deserves it. Let's do that. This man accomplished incredible and unbelievable things both on and off the battlefield, and then afterwards he went on to live a truly selfless life in the service to others. And that is why you should never forget the name Alvin York. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out. My favorite thing about the Sergeant York movie was he was the technical advisor. Like, he signed off on absolutely everything in the movie. He tried to have the other men represented. He tried to keep it as accurate as possible. But there was one thing he didn't sign off on, and I don't even know if he knew they did it, because they made it seem like Alvin York kissed Gracie before he went off to war. Both Alvin, his wife, and all of their kids after the fact, whenever this gets brought up or whenever they're interviewed about it, they are adamant and make sure they point out that never happened. Gracie York is not some hussy that would kiss before their marriage. Their first kiss was on their wedding day. And I don't know. I think that's just like funny and cute.
It's very cute.
Anyways, see you guys later.
It's very cute.
I remember one day back in the Argonne when we took several prisoners. I noticed one German corporal looking us over, mightily puzzled. He could speak a little English. He asked if all of us in the outfit were Americans. We told him we were. He just shook his head. Didn't seem that he could take it at all. You see, the All-American Division was made up of boys from all over the country. There were boys from the mountains like me and boys from the small towns and cities. There were Southerners, New Yorkers, Middle Westerners, as well as boys from the cow country in the Pacific coast. And there were men whose folks had been Greek, Italian, Jewish, German, Polish, Swedish, and Irish. Just every strain of good American you could think of. It sure seemed to get this German corporal down. He just couldn't understand how we could all pull together and smash up soldiers of the great German race. They can't get it through their thick heads that it's not your creed or your height, nor the color of your eyes that makes an American. It's our freedom and equality over the Constitution and our Bill of Rights that makes an American an almighty fighter. Once a man has tasted that freedom, he'd rather die fighting than to do without it for himself and his children.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. That is an amazing, and an amazing fucking hero. Chat, I cannot think of any more applicable story to hear about on the day, to commemorate the Army's 250th birthday. I don't think we could have picked a better story to hear than that. Yeah. And I don't care how late I ran. I am so glad that we got to hear it. I am so glad.